decided to do a big pilot rewatch. I've gathered up 10 of the television shows that I own on DVD, and I'm going to rewatch the pilot for each of them and review them. And the first pilot I watched was the pilot for the A-Team, which is called Mexican Slayride. This was written by Frank Lupo and Stephen J. Cannell and directed by Rod Holcomb. And it is movie length. It's about an hour and a half, maybe a little over. I can't remember the exact time limit. One thing I noticed off the bat before I get into it was that Melinda Cullia got second billing after George Peppard. That just seems a little weird to me. But anyway, on to the plot. So, Melinda Cullia's character, Amy Allen, who, if any A-Team fans are out there know, was a regular in Season 1 and the first half of Season 2 or so, hires the A-Team to find her friend Al Massey, who is a fellow reporter and went missing in Mexico while on assignment. Her boss won't listen to her and puts her on suspension. And another friend of hers, I don't remember if the character had a name or not, tells her about the A-Team. So she sets about trying to find them. The characters. Hannibal is pretty clearly him right off the bat. You can see right away how smug and arrogant he is, how really brilliant he is. I mean, he is such a clever individual, you can't deny that. And how much he just loves his life. Like, that's the thing that I love about Hannibal, is even though he's a fugitive, I think he's pretty happy with his life. I don't think he would change it, even if he weren't a fugitive. And we got to see his acting life, too. We got to see the Aquamaniac for the first time, which was just awesome, because I love the Aquamaniac. Another thing about him in this episode was that he fed Amy a fake backstory by telling her that he was a rancher or whatever, and she called him on it, and turns out he was lying. Hannibal was always a mystery. You never really find out anything about him. Face. Face was not played by Dirk Benedict in this episode. He was played by Tim Dunnigan. And he's not much of a presence in this episode as he is in almost every other episode in the series, and I really kind of have to blame the acting for that, because I think the writing was mostly there for him, but Tim Dunnigan didn't make him, I guess, live. Didn't make Face come to life the way that Dirk Benedict did. The way Tim Dunnigan would do the scamming, he played it very straight, very serious, like, I don't know, what I imagine would be a real con man, just totally, here, this is what I'm telling you, you're going to believe me now. And so, in one sense, I think he's more realistic when it comes to his scams, because I would probably believe him over Dirk Benedict. On the other hand, that's just not the realism this show has, you know? It's not a realistic show, and Dirk Benedict goes way over the top with his scams. He's very funny with them. He's not very believable, if you ask me, but it's a silly show, so his scamming works much better in it, and he just has much more of a screen presence. He has way more charisma on screen than I'm getting their names mixed up, than Tim Dunnigan does. I believe he was officially let go because he looked too young, which on this third viewing, that was the third time I watched it, yeah, he does look pretty young, I have to admit it. So I don't think he did a bad job, I just don't think he fit with the tone. Now, having said that, we do start off getting some good backstory about him. We find out that he grew up in an orphanage, that he was abandoned at age 5, which I think it's weird. He doesn't remember anything before age 5. That's kind of old to me. Like, your memories, I can remember from before age 5. Anyway, B.A. B.A. I actually think got more screen time and lines and character development in this episode than he did in the whole rest of the series. It's weird that Mr. T was so popular and yet B.A. just did not have the biggest part. But yeah, I was just surprised to see how involved he was in this episode, particularly the pep talk he gave the village near the end. Murdoch. I loved Murdoch's introduction because it just told us like everything you need to know about him right away, and it showed his craziness and his brilliance all at once. When he shaved his head to look like he just had electroshock therapy, see, that's genius. See, I don't think he's really crazy. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's possible he may have had legitimate problems at one point, but I think he's basically fine now. I just think he's happier, you know, living in his fantasy world, but he can clearly snap out of it when he needs to, and he's very, very smart. We did get a little backstory for him, his war record, and it was mentioned that his mother died. Amy. I really have grown to love Amy recently. I didn't think much about her one way or the other, mostly because she wasn't really there when I was watching season 2. When I went back and watched season 1, she's still not as much of a part of the show as she could have been, as she should have been, if you ask me, but I really do like her. Plus, she looks much prettier with long hair. She's a very determined person, you know, and she's very strong in her own way, you know. It's like this quiet strength about her. And I think she could have been a great character, and to me, it's really a shame that she never got enough screen time or development to live out her potential, because I really think she had a lot of potential. I think the thing I really liked about Amy in this episode is that it's sort of the ordinary girl, you know, gets into this extraordinary situation and has to grow in it. And being a Torchwood and Doctor Who fan, that is a story that I'm both sick of and that I love. Because I guess I'm so used to that with Gwen and Rose and Martha and Donna and Amy that, you know, I see this and that sort of has the same setup. Of course, obviously didn't play out like that, but so yeah, I think that's the potential that I really get sad about when it comes to Amy. So, oh, we also get to see Colonel Lynch in this episode, was only in a couple episodes of season 1 before he was replaced by the far superior character, Colonel Decker. Lynch was okay. Decker was awesome. Some other bits in this one. I like the car chase at the movie lot near the beginning because it looked much more structured and put together than later car chases do. The editing on the show has never been that great. It's one of my complaints about it, so I'm glad that this one actually looked like some care was put into it. Oh, Lynch fell way too easily for Murdoch's little act at the VA. Like, I just think he should have been a little tougher than that. To just immediately be like, oh, okay, I guess he really is crazy. Dang. No, come on, dude. You said you were gonna break him, break him. Not that you can break Murdoch, but you could try. I liked how we saw every single step that Amy had to go through to get to the team, because in most episodes you shortcut that, you know, for time's sake you kind of have to. It would eat up half the episode if you didn't. And Mr. Lee, wow. He's mentioned in a lot of episodes. I think this is the only time you actually see him. No, you wouldn't be getting away with that today. I like the fact that they use the radio to communicate with each other. They did that in a later episode, Bounty, so I like the continuity there. Oh, the van isn't in this one, which is sad. And neither is the vet. The vet doesn't show up till season 2, but still, no van or vet. It's just sad. The whole drugging VA scene on the way to the airport was hilarious. And I remember the first time I watched it, I couldn't believe that VA actually hit Hannibal. The other thing that really made me laugh in this episode was VA's heart attack and then death on the way back. I know I just sort of said that Tim Dunnigan was too serious, but the way he said, sadly, our pilot died and you guys run a heck of an airport or something like that on the way back was one of my laugh out loud moments for this episode. So I can give credit where credit's due. I like that Hannibal and BA actually lost the bar fight, because I don't think you want them coming off as the team coming off as completely perfect, you know? You really don't see the bad guy much in this one. He's in the beginning and then he doesn't show up again until the last half hour. By the way, the last half hour drags. There's one thing I don't like about the show, and that's the 2-part episodes, which run about the length that this one did, because the show is just not deep enough to carry an episode for longer than 45 minutes. It's just not. So by the end I was like, come on already, just end. And oh yeah, I don't like her that Hannibal called her AAA. That's really, really lame. I'm so glad they never called her that again. And speaking of nicknames, they call Murdoch Howling Mad a lot in this episode. And which it just takes too long to say and doesn't flow quite right, so I'm glad they just switched to calling him just Murdoch in later episodes. For a pilot, it was pretty good. Of course, it's not really the A-Team unless Dirk Benedict is there. So you really just sort of have to kind of deal with Tim Dunnigan being there. You just look at it from an analytical point of view and just see the difference between Tim Dunnigan and Dirk Benedict, and you can get through it. But you never think he's face. You can't do it. He's not face. So yes, I enjoyed this episode, and I will get to another pilot next week.